Alright there folks, welcome to another Fishing Adventures Bite Size, and we're talking waggler rigs on pole winders today. This is a question that came in. One of the followers on Facebook saw a video regarding someone who pre-ties all his waggler rigs, attaches them to his line and gets fishing straight away. And to be fair, I've never even really considered this or thought about it, but having watched the video, it makes a lot of sense, but the video isn't really massively clear. So I'll break it down to you a little bit. So, fishing a float rod, generally speaking, I will fish a 13-foot rod. And it's the same with top kits, okay? I'm going to go slightly around the houses to explain this, but bear with me because it will make sense. When you're making a pole rig up, you'll do it to the same length as what your top kit is. Now, it's the same with the waggler rigs, okay? I've got a 13-foot float rod that I'll use pretty much for all my commercial work. It just works basically, and I'm very, very comfortable and confident in using that. So what I'll do is, if I was going to go down the route of pre-making the waggler rigs, what you could do is make a 13-foot rig, in effect. It's basically the same as making a pole rig, only you're putting a waggler on your line. Now, the advantage of doing this, and this is the thing that really stood out for me, is in winter, your fingers are freezing, and when you're trying to put small shot on line, it's nigh on impossible to do it. I mean, I'm in my 40s, my fingers don't work the best anyway because I've been stupid in the past. But if you can do it at home, you can get these rigs absolutely perfectly balanced. And if you're using a loaded waggler, you don't need any big shots on your line either. So if you think of it as you're doing a pole rig, it's just bigger with a different float. So you can get everything critically balanced as well. You can even put your swivel for your hook lengths on as well. Do you know the little quick change swivels? You can stick them on as well, incorporate that as part of your shotting pattern. Then when you get to the water, simply clip on your hook length and you're basically ready to fish. Now, the question that was asked, I think it was about 6 times in the video that I watched, was how do you connect it to your main line? Simple solution is it's going to be loop to loop. Do you know when you connect your main line and your hook length and you've got the 2 loops, and it's basically that is what you're doing, but on a bigger scale. Now, the thing you've got to bear in mind is, if you're making these rigs at home, what sort of depth are your lakes that you do fish the waggler? For me, I think the maximum depth that I've got is, I think it's about 6.5 foot, but I don't fish the waggler on there that often, so I'm not entirely sure, so I would have to go and double check that. But if it was about 6.5 foot, I could set the rigs up to be 8 foot, and then I know I've got a bit of leeway between the loop at the top and the first stopper bead for the float, the grip stop. Now, if I had a big loop in my main line coming through the rod, you just simply loop it on like you would a hook length. But I know, because the rod is 13 foot, that that loop-to-loop connector is not going to go anywhere near that top ring on the rod. And I think that is probably the most important thing, because the last thing you need is a loop-to-loop with 2 knots going through the top ring of that rod. Because if it's a small ring, it's going to cause tangles, you're going to get snarled up and stuff. So again, if you're using a 13-foot rod, the maximum I would use for a made-up waggler rig is probably 10 foot. But as I say, the waters that I fish, 6.5 seems to be about the average. So I've not actually done this myself yet, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to dig out some of my loaded wagglers, and I'm actually going to set them up at home, get them on some big chunky winders, and the next time I get out, if the lakes ever thaw out and we get some clear weather, I mean, it's sunny today, but it's about -4, and I ain't sitting in that. I'm sorry folks, it's just it's not happening. Unless you want to sponsor me some heated clothing, then I'll happily go out and do it, but until that happens, not a chance. And then I'll give them a go, just so you can get the proper setup and everything like that on camera. But yeah, just think of it as a massive pole rig that you're going to connect with a loop-to-loop, and that should sort all the problems out really. But from a time-saving point of view, you can't really complain, can you? You can't go wrong. It is a bit of a genius idea. I just wish the guy that had done the video had explained it in a little bit more detail. But yeah, if you have tried it, leave a comment below. Give this video a thumbs up, leave a comment as well of what you want to see next on our bite size, and I will catch you all later. Cheers.